stay in your lane. Yeah, we get a little homie, you been getting some brain. Rapping about how you smoking weed like a chain, but I gotta be the one to throw the industry shade. Told you I've been fed up, get your bread up, you don't drop shit. Dropping so much fire, 2018, it's obnoxious. Put me on the 16, watch the numbers rise. Just went from the bubble to the top.
You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Live podcast. You have your host, Tyler Gaeta. We have co-host
Jonathan Baumgartner.
And we have on the keys here, we got Joshua Orsman listening to us this time, so we don't fuck up another podcast. First and foremost, guys, I just want to say I apologize for the delay in getting these out. We actually shot one, so we changed studios. We started doing it ourselves so that we could have more control over what we want to put out. We had a company that we paid to produce our podcast previously. We actually got fucking censored, man, which is bullshit and crazy. I can't even believe it. I mean, we paid a private company and got censored, and we're told that we couldn't put things out that were basically against liberal policies. It's pretty much what happened, and it's fucking insane. It's crazy. So we said, fuck you to your contract and fuck you to your production, and we're going to do it ourselves, so we're not censored, and we can say whatever the fuck we want, do whatever the fuck we want, whenever the fuck we want to do it. And that's what the Dads Who Live podcast is all about. It's all about growth, but it's all about freedom also. We're in America, and I don't agree with a lot of the shit going on nowadays, and it's fucking wild and crazy to me. That's going to be another podcast. We'll get into that shit soon. We're probably going to do an America on Fire Part 3 coming up here pretty quick. And I'll probably have Joel Staley back for that one too. But anyways, so sorry for the delay. Now that we have this up and running, hopefully if this one actually gets put out, that means everything went well, and we should have everything running the right way now moving forward, which means that I want to get back to doing an episode every single week, and that's the plan. So thank you for tuning in, though. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for being patient. We really appreciate it. We do this stuff for free, guys, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We don't run any ads. I will not do paid ads. I will not do advertising on this podcast. So please just tell a friend. That's all we ask. You tell a friend, they tell a friend. We grow this thing organically. All we want to do is add value to you. So if we added value, please tell a friend and share the word. We really appreciate it. So what we want to talk about here today is choices. And this is actually what I shot in the podcast that got botched. But it was just me, and it was a short one. It was only like 15 minutes long. I don't know how long we'll go here, but I've got John on now, so this should be a lot better conversation. But really what it comes down to is I've been very cognizant of my life lately and what I'm doing and where my life is going. And I've made a lot of choices in the past that have not aligned with what I want in my life and where I want my life to head. And I've even made choices in the recent past that have not aligned with where I want my life to head. And this is going to go into a lot of different facets. So number one, everybody has fucking millions of choices every single fucking day, and they shape your life. Whatever choice you make, small or large, is going to shape your life down the road. What they say is 3 months from now is when you'll see the fruits of your labors today. So however you live your life today, your life will reflect it 3 months down the road, and I truly do believe that. So if you're a piece of shit today and you're consistently a piece of shit, you know that you're not putting in the effort that you can put in or putting in the effort that you should put in, your life's going to reflect that three months down the road. You might not lose your job today. You know, if you start being lazy as fuck at work, you might not lose your job today. You stop putting in the effort that you put in your relationship and your friendship and whatever you're doing in your life, you might not lose it today, but give it a month, 2, 3 months, that stuff will start showing in your life. And every single choice that I have in my life, I am in control of. And this goes into another facet of what I want to talk about is just extreme ownership, man. I really do believe that we own everything that happens to us in our lives as adults. Now, children, that's different. Things that happen to you when you grow up, that's different. Things do happen that are out of your control. But as far as adults living their lives and making choices in their lives on how they live their everyday life, we own 100% of that shit. So if I make some poor fucking decisions and that results in poor things happening in my life, I own 100% of that shit. If I make some great fucking decisions and that results in great things happening in my life, I own 100% of that shit, you know? And I'm really fucking tired of this. There's a lot of it going around right now, this fucking victim mentality, victim mindset of, poor me. Oh, why is this happening to me? Why don't I get what they have? Oh, that must be nice. Like, oh God, look at that guy driving the Ferrari. That must be nice. Like, if you want the fucking Ferrari, do what he's doing, because I guarantee you're not. If you're driving a fucking hatchback and he's driving a Ferrari, I guarantee you're not making the moves that he's doing. You're not living the life that he's living. You're not doing the same things every single day that guy's doing, right? Unless he just fucking inherited the money, which does happen, but not very frequently.
Definitely doesn't happen. So how did you get that awareness about your decisions? Like, because honestly, I didn't have awareness that the decisions I made in life took me to where I was until I got to a point where I was like, holy shit, I don't want to be here. How did I get here?
Right.
What have I been doing? And then where did I go from that moment? How like, for me, I just got to a point super low. I think we all have the trauma or some like real serious incident that happens, right?
Yeah.
And you get to a point, you have to get real with yourself. You have to get really real with yourself, and it comes down to accountability. We as humans will make a decision based off emotion, right? And then we justify it away. We have a million justifications. And so for me, I had to learn how to not make my decisions based on emotion, but more sound logic, reason, or based on what I'm aligned with and what I want to come out of my life versus just, the victim mentality and blame it on the situation. So when ownership comes into play, you have to look at that situation and what can you control, because you can't do anything other than change or do what you can control. So for me, it really came down to holding myself accountable to every little thing and looking at the situation and how did I get myself in this situation? What could have I done differently to maybe not start this fight, or to not end up with thousands of dollars of debt, or to not find a partner that aligned with my views and morals, and now I have other baggage and things that come along with relationships and hurt and pain. So for me, it was a traumatic event. I think I was 23, 24, had a couple kids, and I've shared this story before, so if you guys remember me on the earlier podcast, I had a kid that I thought was mine, not mine. I kind of looked at my life and was like, where do I go from here? And it really came down to surrounding myself with people who mentored me, getting a coach, and holding myself accountable, and having that complete and extreme ownership. My dad told me this one time I made a bad decision, and he's like, you got yourself into this mess and you have to get yourself out of that mess. And I was young, 15, and it was a big decision, I paid the really big price for it, but looked me square in my eyes, and I understand it more so now today. Like, something so simple, like, it has a lot of power behind it. So accountability.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I don't know, for me, so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's honestly what I was going to get into here. For me, though, I think it was just the way that I was brought up, because I was brought up very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very, my life was very I was very judged, brought up. Like, nothing was ever good enough. I was very judged. So that made me constantly always look into myself and what I'm doing, and look at my choices and my decisions and what I'm doing in my life, because I never felt like no matter what I did, it was never enough. Now, those have been, that's not the right way to raise your children, for guys that are listening. And those have been, there's been good things that have come out of that and bad things that have come out of that. And as an adult, I've had to work through the bad sides of that, but keep the good sides of that. And a lot of the good sides of that is that I have been able to be empathetic for my choices and how I affect others and things that I do, and not even on affecting others, just how I affect myself. If I do something, it's very easy to say, this person harmed me, this person fucked me over, this person did this to me, this person cheated on me, this person lied to me, this friend stabbed me in the back. But what it really comes down to is I allowed that person in my life, and I allowed that person to do that. There's a saying, you walk into a fence and a dog bites you once, you're a victim. That's you had no clue. That's the fucking dog bit you, But you walk into that same fence or that same yard a second time, a third time, a fourth time, knowing that fucking dog bites, and you get bit again, that's on you, bro. And that's how I see everything that happens in my life. So I'm able to do that, but I do think it was just how I was brought up. But the point that I wanted to get into is you have to be able to self-reflect in order to be a growth-minded, successful person. There's no way that you can be a growth-minded, successful person if you're not able to look at your own decisions and your own actions and your own choices in life and reflect on them and be able to differentiate them from good decisions and bad decisions. And the decisions that are good decisions, hey, let's do more of those. Let's live life more like that. That feels good. The decisions that are bad decisions, you have to be able to look at that and say, all right, I don't want to do that anymore. You know, like I touched the fucking, you know, when you're a kid, you touch the burner once, the oven burner once, right? You get burned. You don't want to touch that motherfucker again, you know?
Right.
But as adults, a lot of times we don't do that. I don't know if it's because we're tougher, we're more resilient, we're hardened. I don't know what it is, but a lot of times it's like, oh, well, that didn't work that time, but let me try it one more time here and see if it works this time. You know, or let me try it 10 more times here and see if it works this time. But you have to be able to take a look at yourself and see yourself for owning everything. If you can look at yourself and be able to say, okay, I own everything in my life. I own the good, I own the okay, I own the bad, I own the horrible, I own the great, I own all of it. So what decisions did I do to get these results? And these results over here I like, so I'm going to keep making those decisions, and I'm going to keep living my life that way. These results over here I fucking hate, I can't stand, so I'm going to cut this shit out, no matter how hard it is to stop it. You know, like people have habits, people have things that they create, people get used to things. No matter what, you have to be able to look at yourself and say, this shit over here is negative, this shit over here is toxic, this shit over here is not moving me in the direction of my life that I want to go. I've got to stop doing these things. I've got to stop making these choices. And those choices can be choices that you make. They can be choices that you personally make. They can be choices of people that you allow in your life, your circle you keep around you. There's lots of different variants. I mean, every single piece of life we own.
So when you do that, like self-reflection, I think people who are growth-minded are overly critical of themselves. Like we're always looking at ourselves and what could I have done better? What could I have done more? Oh, I should have done it, you know. So we're always trying to like one up our own self. And it's not like we're in competition with anybody. And I found like that's what's worked for me is I just constantly want to be better one day at a time. And when I fail, it really bothers me to a point where I look at it and I'm like, how did I even put myself in this situation? Or how did I allow myself to respond this way that produced this outcome? So gaining that awareness, and it's not a one and done, oh, I thought, you know, it's an everyday practice of, you know, being real, having conversations about the decisions you make and planning it out. Write it down, journal it, you know, where are you going? What are you going to do? Living with intentionality. I think we've talked about that before too. When you own your decision, that's being intentional. Like you just don't float in the breeze. You know, as far as me being a dad, you know, and we're learning a lot of lessons right now. I got a 4-year-old, so we're learning, don't touch the stove. We're not running up and down stairs because you're going to fall. You're not sticking your hands or playing with doors because you're going to get your fingers pinched. So as kids, and I think you made a great point, it's easy for them to learn the lesson. Like my son got his fingers pinched this weekend, never had another issue with any single door. Why? Because it hurt, and he understood that. I don't want that again. As adults, we think we can outsmart ourselves, right? We think that, oh, I failed at this, but I can figure it out next time. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's Albert Einstein that said you can't come up with a solution from within the same thinking of which you created the problem. So if you're constantly having the same issue, you need to remove yourself from that way of thinking to find the solution to get you out of that problem. Get a coach, read a book, mentor. Don't beat your head over the brick, you know, and that's part of why we're doing this is because we have tons of life experience that if one thing, hey, I'm struggling with being a parent right now, my kid's crazy, or hey, I got relationship issues and I don't know how to control myself, because again, extreme ownership. You know, I always, when any of my buddies reach out or anyone reach out to me, what is it you can control, man? What can you do? I can't help the other person. I can only help you focus on what you are in control of, and that's ownership. And it comes full circle, man. It really does. And I've learned to stop beating my head against the wall. You know, humble yourself, swallow your pride. I don't know it all, but I got buddies who know a little bit more than me about this or a little bit more than me about that. Sweet. I want them in my circle, trying to level up, trying to understand how do I be a better leader, a better father, a better man of faith for my community, a better example for people in the community, and for my son, most importantly. So, I mean, it really comes full circle. Ownership. Who do you want to be? Is it your eulogy at your funeral? They read whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Go write your own eulogy and see if that's what people would say about you if you passed away today. That's So I heard that and it stuck with me. And when I pass away, I hope that I've reached enough people with, advice, help, whatever it may be, just to, help them in any way. Great, man. Like it's an interesting challenge. It's pretty humbling. And we've talked about before manifesting. You can start manifesting. Once you write that out and you know where you want to be, you can start figuring out how to get there and how to become that person that you want to be, step by step.
Yeah, and another cool thought too, like your eulogy deal is like how do your kids see you? Like if your kid had to write a letter to school right now and say who is your dad or your mom? What do they do? What do they like? How do they? What's fun to them? What's funny to them? What do they not like? Like if your kids were to sit there and write a letter about who you are, how would that letter look, man? Would you be proud of what it said? There's definitely some fucking things that I'd be worried about. Like shit, man, I hope this ain't on the letter. I'm not perfect by any means. I strive every single day to be the best man I can be and the best father I can be and to do the best that I know how to do. And that's all that I can fucking do. But I fall short every single day. And I've said it a million times before, like I fail every day. Although I don't see failure as failure. I don't believe in failure because if I take it and learn from it, which is ownership, which is saying I did this and I fucked this up, but I'm going to use it to learn from it, move forward, do things differently, and be a better person because of it. That's not failure. Like there's no such thing as failure in that point. But this whole topic, like ownership, being able to see yourself for who you are, not blaming other people, taking your own fault, taking control of your actions, seeing everything as your ownership. Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership is a great book on this topic if you haven't ever read or listened to it. Extreme Ownership. And it really does come down to everything, man. And honestly, so this is a really cool principle to live by when you can actually get this and live by this, because once you live by this principle, you're able to shape your life into whatever the fuck you want it to be. If you're not living by this principle, then what did the bad things, right? Like what was it? It was somebody else. It was luck. It was fate. Shit just happens to you. I'm just an unlucky person. Like that's living in doom, man. That's living in doom and gloom and negativity, because if you believe that you just have this aura around you of I'm just a negative person, you can't change that. That's just your fucking aura. But if you can sit there and own everything that you do and say, okay, man, that did not go how I wanted it to go, but I fucked that up. I can see like I did these little things here that were good, but I also did these things right here that were really fucking bad in that situation. And I don't like the way that situation ended or went. So I should probably stop those things and change those things from happening in the future, or from me doing them in the future. And another thing too is when you do have an extreme ownership and you're able to look at yourself, you can catch it before it gets to that fucking horrible bad area, man. Because if you just think that shit is just happening to you or it's somebody else or whatever, you're not in control and you don't own any of your actions, then you're just going to ride that shit out and let it happen until your fucking dick's in the dirt, But if I can look at it and say, man, I made a fucking wrong turn here. Like I made a wrong turn, but I'm not fucking, my dick's not in the dirt yet. I just made a wrong turn. I'm like, maybe a mile down the road on this wrong turn. Okay, I better turn the fuck around because that was the wrong turn. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to come back the other way. I'm going to take this other turn that will hopefully get me a better result in what I want in my life and what I want my life to be and how I want my life to shape, So it's really a good thing. Like it sounds like it's a bad thing. It sounds like you're beating your fucking self up all the time. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like, oh man, I'm just going to, tell myself I'm a piece of shit 24/7, because nobody's fucking perfect, right? Everyone's going to fuck up. So you're like, oh shit, extreme ownership. Like I got to own everything. Like, damn, that sounds tiring as fuck, but it's not, man, because it's not that deep. When you can sit there and actually take it and say, like every single little thing, like, all right, man, I'm going to reflect on this, or hey, I'm in this position right now that I don't like. What the fuck did I do? How did I get here? Okay, well, I don't want to do that anymore. How do I reverse that? How do I make other choices that'll lead me into another path and down another direction? Because we own everything, and this is part of manifesting too. Like, I hate to tell you, but whatever you believe is going to come out of your life is what's going to fucking come out of your life. So if you believe that you have this doom of gloom, dark cloud over you, and you're just an unlucky person and bad things happen to you, that's going to continue to happen to you. That it's part of manifesting. Like, I don't write the fucking rules. I just know it works, right? But if you sit there and say, no, this is what I want and I'm going to have it, and actually when I manifest, I see things as if I already have them. That's truly how you get them. And then you're grateful for what you do have, right? As you're saying, I'm going to have these things that I want, or I'm determined in either way I'm going to have these things that I want. I'm not a negative person. I don't have this fucking dark cloud over me. Like, I made a wrong turn here, but I corrected it, went back, and I'm heading towards my path still. I'm still going to have whatever the fuck that I want in my life, no matter what. It's going to come. No matter what, it's going to come. You will get what you want out of life. And really, this is the only fucking way to get what you really want out of life.
I honestly think there's like a big misconception from like lessons that you learn and having that conversation. I mean, it kind of, it's not daunting, but it's more liberating to know that you gained back the control. Now I can change, I can alter, I can tweak a decision, and I'm not going to have to stress this much about my finances because now I'm intentionally putting money away to, so it's actually, the more you dial it in, the more liberating it is. You can make a plan and get yourself out of debt, or make a plan and have a better relationship, or make a better relationship with your children. You can start liberating yourself from all these stresses. But as you continue to do that, that should feed like your why and your once you start seeing it, they're not coincidences, right? You start seeing opportunities that you've never seen before just all of a sudden appear. You might be in the right place, the right time, you might talk to the right person, you might have the right attitude, you might smile at somebody, you might be extra helpful and go out of your way. I mean, you start presenting better opportunities for better things to happen in your life. If you're the person who doesn't ever hold the door for anybody, you don't give a smile and a wave, nobody's ever going to smile and wave at you. If you've never, given out of the generosity of your heart, I truly believe you're not ever going to receive something out of the generosity of someone else's heart. And you'll notice these things, and they come into your world because you've started creating the opportunities for things to happen and better things to happen. So leverage that little bit of momentum, make that pivot. I don't take losses. If I lose or I'm in a situation that could be considered a loss, what's the angle? How do you change it next time so that way you can do it a little bit differently or have a better outcome? Really think of it that way, and one day at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. I think I've struggled with that personally, of being my biggest critic and trying to do a bunch of these growth things, with my relationship and my son. And I think there's several areas where we all can improve on our growth, our morals, our standards, my relationships, my ethics, my ethos as a human being. And it's a battle every day. And the guys who are out here being highly successful and bettering themselves, every one of them just tell you it's a battle every single day. And I just even had this conversation with my girlfriend last night. It's like, listen, we started doing this because we realize it's every day. It's not like a one and done, I'm struggling. No, every day we ask ourselves, why did I get here? How did I get here? Man, I don't want to do this way. Or we're getting hard on ourselves. And we're, just getting harder and harder on ourselves. But again, when you surround yourself with the right people, they're there to remind you, hey man, be grounded, one day at a time. Only fix one thing. Don't hang on the problem as it's a bad thing. Change it into a positive and move the fuck on. Just keep on moving forward. Don't dwell in the past. Joe Dispenza, his concept of when you think about the past, you're actually living in the past. You can't bring anything new into your life. You're going to have the same suffering. And it's the way your brain works, the way it's wired, the way it's fired. So stop living in the past, off your past emotions.
Yeah, so there isn't one fucking day where things are easy for me. Like, there's not. Like, people have this fallacy that, once people make it and become successful, and I'm nowhere. I made a few bucks. I'm doing okay for myself, but compared to a lot of these guys, your Ed Milet's, your Andy Frisellas, I'm just a drop in the fucking bucket. I'm not even a penny drop in the bucket, But still, people still look at me that way, or you look at Andy Frisella that way. You look at Ed Milet that way. That's a billionaire, and people have this fallacy that like, oh, they made it, right? They made it. Their life's cake. Their life's easy. Like they can do whatever they want. Dude, those guys still struggle every fucking day. I still struggle every fucking day. Like, there's not one day that's easy for me. There's not one day that I fucking wake up at 6 a.m. or whenever the fuck I wake up that morning, and I don't want to fucking go back to bed. There's
we
not
one
of them.
Our demons.
Yeah, there's
sure.
not one of them. And it comes down to the daily choices, though. It does. And I will say there's something to be said for momentum also. Once you create momentum of living a certain lifestyle, it is easier to live that lifestyle. Once you get that going and you do a certain thing and you stick to the schedule and you create momentum around this routine, then that routine becomes easier. And it's still, like, no matter what, anytime I wake up at 6 a.m., I still want to fucking go back to bed. So it's not that it really gets easier, but it gets easier to say no. Like, it doesn't get easier. Like, I still wake up and say, oh, fuck, I want to go back to bed. But I don't wake up, but it's not an option in my mind. Like, going back to bed is not an option in my mind because I've created this momentum of that's what I do. I've created this routine and this momentum to this routine. I go to the gym every fucking day. I might miss like a day a week, but I pretty much go to the gym every fucking day. And during the work week, I go to the gym every fucking day after work. Unless my son has like a school event or something. But 9 times out of 10, and I still go to the gym that day. But 9 times out of 10, I go to the gym every day after work. There are many fucking days where I get done with work and I'm fucking beat. I'm exhausted. I've got nothing left. I'm tired as shit. There's days where I got to take 2 scoops of pre-workout to get my ass motivated enough to drive to the fucking gym. And I love the gym. The gym is one of my favorite things to do. Like, it's my stress reliever. I fucking love going to the gym. But there's still times where I'm so fucking tired and so beat at the end of my day that I just feel like I don't have any energy fucking left. But I still make that choice to do it, right? And part of that is because of that momentum, right? So it's not an option in my mind to say no. I've got zero. What am I looking for here? My limitations on myself and my life and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable are tighter than I think most people's. And that's a big thing, right? Like, it's not acceptable for me not to win. It's not acceptable for me not to go to the gym. It's not acceptable for me to not get my work done. It's not acceptable for me to stay out of my routine. And these things all paired together, when I'm able to look at myself, realize that everything in my life is of my doing, the good and the bad, I'm able to take that and control my choices and look at my choices and say, well, going to choose that some more, not going to fucking choose that anymore. And then I have this momentum going on my routine, and then I have these tight limitations where it's not acceptable for me to do a lot of things. Like, in my own mind, it's not acceptable for me to do something that I know is less than what I can provide. It's not acceptable for me to give. I'm either fucking 0 or 100, right? I don't have a middle. I've talked about this before on another podcast. Like, I used to think that was a bad thing. I used to think that was a weakness because a lot of people have gray area, man. A lot of people are in the middle on a lot of different subjects, and I'm not. I'm white or black. Like, I have no middle. And I used to think that was a weakness, but it's not, man. It's a superpower because if I do something, I give it my all, and I give it my 110%. And if I don't give it my 110%, then in my mind, it's not fucking. There's no point in doing it. There's no point, right? Because that's just the type of person that I am. So when I can do that stuff and be cognizant of how I'm living my life, the choices I'm making every day, and own everything that I have, then I am the creator of my fucking life. I'm the creator of my day. I can look at my day at the end of the day and say, man, did I fucking win or did I lose? You know, like, did I live up to what I want in my life? Like, is this going to lead me where I want to go down the road? Or is it not? You know? And if it's not, you better believe that I fucking make the adjustments to make that next day a win, because I don't like to feel like shit, man. I like to feel good. I like to feel fucking optimal. I like to feel like a winner. You know, I like to fucking win. And that's if you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you like to fucking win too, man. This is a growth-minded podcast, and we're all dads, and we all want to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be, in whatever area that means to you. All of us want to be the best fathers we can be, and this stuff will help you in every single area of your life. Ownership, even ownership of how you're being a parent. My child did this. Instead of just blaming your fucking child, how have I been raising my child? What did I do that allowed them to get to the point to act this way? What can I do to allow them to not act this way again? Or what can I do to reprimand them? Or what can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore? Or what can I do to make sure that my kid's walking a different path for themselves, right? Because kids watch every single thing that we do. Children watch everything that we do. And if you think that they don't, you're not watching. You're not paying attention, man. They watch everything that we do. And your kids see it all. And your kid sits there and says, fuck. You probably said fuck around them, or somebody did, right? Or how else would they hear it, you know? Or they heard it from an uncle or whatever. And I I cuss all the time, obviously. My child doesn't, but that's because that's how I raise him. You know, he knows that that's not acceptable for him to do. I'm a fucking adult. I'll say what I want. But if your child's acting out in school or whatever they're doing, you need to look at yourself and say, man, how am I raising them as a parent? How are, if the mom's on life, how are we raising them as parents? What kind of example are we giving to our children? And what can we do differently to change that? Whenever I have an employee that fucks up, the first thing that I always look at is, what could I have done differently? What could I have done to better prepare him so that he didn't do this or that he didn't fuck up? Was I clear on our policies? Was I clear on the company policies for everybody? Was I clear on what we stand for? Did he have the right image in his mind of what we're trying to do here? Was I clear on the vision that I put out to all my guys and all my employees? Did I give him, the proper plan for the job? Did he know exactly what he was doing? Did I prepare him enough? Did I set him up for success, right? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Like, usually a lot of that shit falls back on either me or John. And there's definitely some fuckheads out there that do some shit that doesn't fall back on us. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, all of our guys are all good, and we've been very fortunate and very lucky to create a family and a team that really is like a family, and we all stick together, and we all do have the same morals and values. We lead our company through our morals and values. I actually wrote on the bulletin board in our shop, and that's actually what we've changed and started hiring from. So instead of hiring on skill set, we now hire on morals and values. If you have the same morals and values as our company morals and values and what we stand for, we'll teach you the fucking skill set. If you're a hard ass worker, you show up every day, you care about your job, you're proud of your work that you put out, you stand for the same things that we stand for, we'll fucking teach you the skill set, and you'll get there. I'd rather have that any day. A guy that I have to teach a skill set that actually has the same morals and values that I do and that the company stands for, than the guy that's been doing this work for 20 years and thinks he's the best in the industry and doesn't give a fuck about anybody else or any client because he's the shit. That doesn't work out, man. And that stuff does come down to ownership.
Yeah, 100%. I wrote a little note, but it was more on, for me, ownership is, taking the complete accountability of myself, learning that it's not necessarily about healing from a past situation, but using that situation to propel myself forward, not being stuck thinking about it as a failure or a loss and being associated with it as something that's bad. I can turn it and use it as fuel to move forward, and owning the fact that I have these problems. We all have whatever issue it may be, anger, frustration, whatever, like lazy, irresponsible, whatever. Own that problem, and once you choose intentionally how to live with that and use it as like, hey, I know I have these issues. If I have trouble waking up in the morning, I set 6 alarms. Yep. Not 1 alarm. Okay, this is my issue. Why should all of my friends or my coworkers or, if I have a date and I have problem being on time, I'm owning my shit, and I'm going to set 6 alarms, and I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to make sure I don't fail my part, to show up on time to a meeting. That's the level of having that ownership, and it boils down to that. Like, okay, I know I have this bad habit. What can I do to make sure that it doesn't get pawned off onto somebody else? You should never make your bad habits someone else's responsibility, and that's ownership. My bad habits should never affect you or anybody else. I own my shit. My shit's not going to affect you. And if it does, I'm a man, because we all fail, and we've said it at least 10 times now. We all fail. We're not perfect. We're not saying we're perfect, but we recognize that, hey, in this failure, I can look at this situation, I can navigate it differently next time, and I can hopefully have a better outcome.
To me, part of the definition of being a man is being able to look at yourself and say, hey, I fell short there, owning up to your shit. I fucked up. I'm sorry if it hurt somebody or affected somebody. I'm sorry. I own my shit. I'm sorry. And this is what I'm going to do to fix it. This is what I'm going to do moving forward. That's a main part of a definition of a man. If you're sitting there blaming everybody else and saying, oh, well, they did this, they did that, this happened to me, that happened to me, my boss is a dick, my company sucks, you're a fucking child. You're not a man. Like, you might as well let your kids raise you.
What's the old saying, man up?
Yeah, exactly.
Man up.
Yep. So, but I think that's a good place to stop here. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to the Dads Who Live podcast here. again, we do this shit for free. We don't run any ads. Please give us a like, share, 5-star review. Please tell a friend. You tell one friend, they tell a friend. That's how we grow this thing organically here, guys. That's how this shit works. And all we want to do is add value. So if we add value to you in any way, give you a smile, give you a laugh, whatever it may be, please tell a friend. Spread this stuff around. We want to help more people. We're doing this shit for free. It actually costs us money and time out of our days to do it. So we really appreciate that. We are on Instagram. Oh, shit, it's been a minute since I've done this. I don't know if I remember everything. We're on Instagram as Dads Who Lift Official. We are on Facebook as Dads Who Lift Podcast. We have a group of 52,000 plus like-minded dads. That's a Facebook group that's called Dads Who Lift Official. So if you're a dad, if you're a like-minded dad, feel free to check that group out. Just a great place for support and just to be around other guys that are trying to be their best selves. Again, that's a Facebook group. We also have hats, apparel, all of our information, all the podcast formats, which we're on, like all the formats are on our website, which is www.dadswholiftofficial.com. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you liked it. Have a great day.
Ain't it funny how they think they can stop me? Try to be me, but I'm so sorry you not me. Try to be me.